Thank you for joining us today for Get It Right. My name is Yvonne Mutui. I work with PAL Radio KE, which is a radio station here in Kenya, Nairobi, on Gong Road. 96.9 is our frequency, so you can tune in to that. Today's episode is a very interesting one. We have an amazing guest, but before we get to that, of course, this is Get It Right with Atara Solutions, run by the amazing Grace Nzola, and we are on season 2, episode number 7. If you missed any of our webinars, they're all available on our YouTube channel at Atara Solutions on YouTube, so you can check them out there. And as always, we have giveaways courtesy of Kapula Mintito, which is an online shop based in Mombasa that sells mostly coastal goodies that are not only yummy to the palate, but full of nutrients too, e.g. cashew nuts, plain roasted and salted, baobab powder, birimbi, raw almonds, organic honey, and sweets such as flavored mabuyu, achari, and dates. They also offer shop for you services and run errands even for people outside the county at a small fee. So you can check them out, Kapu Lamintito. Check out their page on Instagram and follow them as they keep introducing new products and services. We would also like to appreciate our media partners, Graphics Broadcast Media, who are enabling us to stream live on YouTube and Facebook. So we are still live on YouTube and Facebook. You can join us there as well. You can stream in live on Facebook. We promise to have an interesting lineup for you, for our audience. Next Tuesday, we are hosting an entrepreneur who will share their journey. But today's session is brought to you courtesy of Balkan Housing, a real estate company incorporated in the year 2001. The company has successfully sold many parcels of land in different parts of the country. They provide both residential and commercial land for investors, individuals, and groups as well. They also offer property management services. They have broad asset expertise complemented by their comprehensive property management services of mid to large-scale properties, Stallion Construction Company Limited. We're honored to introduce our speaker today, Madam Anne Wamonje. Anne Wamonje is a human resource generalist, consultant, and writer with 10 years experience in human resource management, food security, hospitality, and IT industries. She holds a BSc in human resource management and an MSc in human resources development. She's also a part-time lecturer at Moi University School of Business. Thank you so much for joining us today, Anne.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for this opportunity. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can get you very clearly.
All right, thank you. So today we are talking about answering interview questions. And I know right now there are so many people who are out there looking for jobs, whether you're just from the university or probably you've been laid off from COVID and any other reasons that may have happened. So the reason for us having this session today is just to help people who are job seeking to understand what interviewers are looking for when it comes to interviews. So as much as your CV is there, your CV just gets you the opportunity to get interviewed. But now when you get to the session itself, that is where you get to talk about yourself and to present what you are able to offer. So as an interviewer, there are, this is good. We answer, but at the same time, I have just a few common interview questions that people will most likely meet every time they attend an interview. And one of the questions that people get asked immediately about yourself. And in my opinion, over the period that I have done the interviews, I don't think I've ever missed asking a candidate this question because it's almost a natural thing. So when somebody asks you to tell them about yourself, one thing is a candidate may assume that why would they be asking me that kind of question when I already sent an application and they have read my CV. But then one thing you must understand, sometimes guys, these CVs don't get read in advance because of other reasons or whatnot. So an interviewer is giving you actually an opportunity to introduce yourself and just to tell them briefly about what you have done before, any achievements that you have made, and why you think you are the right fit for that position. But even assuming that the person has looked over your CV, it's also an opportunity where they are verifying whether the details that you have put in your CV are actually the correct details. Because sometimes people give out their CVs to be done by professionals, then they never take time to look over what is there. Then now they sit at an interview and it is discovered that they have no idea what is in that CV, right? So the question is, tell us about yourself. When you're asked to tell us about yourself, we are not trying to get deep into your personal life. What we need to understand is who you are as a person, what you have done in the past as in relation to the job that you are applying for. So, and what you have achieved and probably that position. So as a candidate, what you would probably give out as a response to this would be a brief history of your academic background, which is very, very important. Then your previous work experiences in relation to the job that you are applying for. And like I have said, achievements and what you look forward to bringing on board. And I believe that tell us about yourself is actually one of the most important questions in any interview, because it summarizes the entire interview process, depending on how a candidate answers that question. Again, the other common question that gets asked a lot is, if you are currently working, they would want to know, why do you want to leave your current employer? If you are not working, probably you left your previous job, the question would be, why did you leave your former employer? And now this is where sometimes candidates go wrong, because you are leaving a current employer, or you left a former employer because of one reason or the other. But now this is an opportunity where you are getting a chance to sell yourself. What candidates do is they focus, when answering this question, they focus on the former employer a lot and forget themselves. And that is why you will hear people going on and on, it was the worst thing that ever happened to me, and he ruined my life, and all that may be true or not. But the most important thing is the panelist or the person who is interviewing you is trying to find out about you, not about your former employer. Because one thing you must realize is every company has its problems. Even this one that you are looking to join has its own problems. You have just not discovered what they are. And when you go on and on and on about bad-mouthing your former employer and talking trash about them and all that, regardless of whether it is true or not, then also this person who is interviewing you is looking at and asking themselves questions such as, can I really trust this person? If they are talking this badly about where they have left or where they are looking to leave, then if I bring them on board, is this person able to keep the confidentiality level that we are looking for as a company at this point? Or will they be the person that when they get the first opportunity, they will be bad-mouthing the entire company and all the stuff? So why do you want to leave your former employer? Probably you are looking for better opportunities, growth opportunities, or probably even the job that you're currently holding, you feel like you are looking to take your career to a different direction, and you feel that the opportunity that has presented itself here could assist you to move towards that direction. So the focus should be on that point and not all the negativities that you have probably endured or gone through at the former place or at the current place. Then the third question that is there normally is, what are your salary expectations? In my own experience as an interviewer, each time I ask a candidate, most of them, what is your salary expectation? People tend to go round and round and round, and they don't want to give a figure. And I find this demoralizing, because every time you are applying for a new job, at the back of your mind, you have an idea how much will pay you. So when you then one of the things you need to look at is, you need to look at the size of that company. If you are interviewing for a multinational at a multinational, and you are interviewing and you compare that with an SME, probably even if the job position was the same, the salary might not be the same. So when you look at the company size and then their ability to pay, because you must have done some background check on the kind of company that you're looking to join. So this should give you a rough idea on what you might put. And when you are, unless you are really confident of a figure, you are normally advised to give a range where you give room for negotiations. And when you are giving a range, you need to note that the minimum of that range should be what you are actually looking for. So let's say you're looking at a net of 150. So your range should be, say, 150 to 200, if that is what is suitable for you. So that if you are negotiating, you will come down to the minimum, which would still be comfortable for you. So when you're asked what your salary expectation is, don't be shy about it. Don't beat around the bush about it. Don't ask them what your budget is, because yeah, they have a budget, but they also would like to know, does this person really understand their worth? What are you bringing on the table? Because those are the kinds of things they're looking to hear when they're asking you about your salary expectation. So don't be afraid to come out very confidently and say what. Then number 4, sometimes you have an employment gap, which has been very common with COVID-19 right now. Probably you are laid off in March of last year and you're just getting a job in June of this year. So this entire period, you have not been working, or maybe it was not anything COVID related. You were just laid off. So when you're asked about why is there an employment gap in your CV, people to look cute, for lack of a say, it is important to go in truthful. It's easy to forget the kind of lie that you tell the truth, then it is consistent. So let's say the employment gap was as a result of probably you are taking time work to take care of your kids, or you had a child and you could not just manage raising a young child with work. So you decided to take 1 year off to take care of your baby. That is not, being a mother, I think that is a full-time job, and you learn a lot of things that you'll probably not learn in the office if you are working full-time. So don't be afraid to mention that. But at the same time, when you're mentioning the reason for your employment gap, don't feel like, don't go over and over about the gory details of how much life has been unfair to you and what you have gone through and how miserable you have become, because at the end of the day, the employer is looking to see what value you will bring on board if they were to hire you, even after you have stayed out for this long. So focus on, as much as you're explaining the employment gap, you must also explain what you would bring on board if you were to be hired, even after this long period of time that you have been out. So don't focus on the negative. That is what I am basically saying. Why do you want to join us? That is a very important question. Why are you leaving your employer, or why are you interested in joining us? Okay, let's talk about why you are interested in joining us as a company. So this also is where people try to play nice, and they will talk about how nice we have gone over your website, and I think you are a fantastic employer, and I think you're the best thing that has happened to this industry, blah, blah, blah. And all those things that you are saying, you might discover they're not factual. And if you keep overpraising the employer or this potential employer, they will think you are fake. So why do you want to join us? Think about your career direction. Think about the job description that you have read through, and link these two and see and try to explain how, when you marry the two, you will add value to this company, while at the same time there will be career growth or personal development as far as yourself is concerned. So I think, in my opinion, those are some of the most basic questions that guys get asked at any interviews. And I know before we came in, there are people who had sent in their questions in advance, Yvonne. So I wrote some of them down. Some of them I've already answered, and that's over with. So I know there are also guys who are putting in comments on the chats to ask their own questions. You are free to ask that, because this is a good opportunity to get clarifications on some of the things that you might encounter. And this is not just for people who are currently working, but also people who have just left the university, who are just going into the job market. And I've discovered that young graduates, or other guys who have just graduated, are finding it a bit challenging to explain themselves at interviews, because people are looking for work experience. But then, you know, when you're just coming from the university, you probably have only interned somewhere or volunteered, and you've not worked so much. But this should not discourage you when you attend an interview. What is most important, what you might not discover at the point of interview, is that the interviewer is looking for more than just the experience, but also the attitude and the heart that you have for that job. Because sometimes you might find somebody who is very experienced, they can answer all the questions correctly, but there's just that gut feeling that you keep having about them, that you just can't get past it as far as their attitude is concerned. Your body language at the point of interview is key, because the panel will observe that, and they will say, this one, yes, he is experienced and blah, 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 and what, but then I don't think this will stay because of 1, 2, 3. So it's important that you are confident about yourself, even if you're a graduate. Tell them what you have studied at the university, all those places you have volunteered at or interned at. What did you learn in those places? And how does that translate into what you are applying for? So don't be scared because you have gone in there and there's somebody with 3 years experience and you are just fresh from the university. Yeah. Yes, Yvonne. So I know you have a couple of questions that guys have sent in. So
yeah,
let's
there are a
get
couple
to
of
it.
questions. All right.
Yes.
So we can start with this one. The question, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah.
Yes. So this is mostly asked towards the end of the interview. And as a person, people have dreams. So I think when you are asked about where you see yourself in 5 years, it is just right for you to explain the career direction that you hope to take. Sometimes this question may be asked to you and you might end up saying, say you are interviewing for the position of a HR officer, and where do you see yourself in 5 years? And you say, I would like to be a HR manager, which is fantastic, right? But then again, within this panel, there's somebody who is the HR manager who is interviewing you, who might be feeling threatened by that kind of answer or anything. But that notwithstanding, you have your own dreams that you are pursuing. So just speak them out. And if you want to mention something personal, probably you want to start a family and all that, that is also allowed. But just don't get too much into your personal details, because at the end of the day, it is still an interview. Yeah. Next.
All right.
Yvonne.
Great. All right. Next, there's a lady here called, we've not told me her name, but she's saying, many thanks, Madam Anne, for the great deliberations. When asked about my weaknesses in an interview, this one question that gets me divided.
All right.
Tell me about your weaknesses.
So, yes, tell me about your weaknesses. When you're asked about your weaknesses, this is not the time to come and start explaining the way you just cannot wake up without your alarm turning on, or for me, I keep getting to work late, even if I plan myself very well. So that is the biggest weakness for me. When you say something like that at an interview, the panel will automatically be turned off, because at the end of the day also, they want to find somebody who is reliable. So the best way to answer what your weaknesses are is to look at your strengths first. Your strength is probably you pay attention to details. So how do you pick up something like, say, do I say the negative or on the weakness side of that? How do you explain that on a negative level? Probably you have a problem with people who don't do their job on time, and your performance is dependent on them. So you might probably explain that I'm a bit impatient with people like that. It is a weakness, but at the same time, it is something that is helpful when you manage it properly. Here is to avoid being too negative, but try to explain your weaknesses with a pinch of positivity to it. Because also, when you tell a panelist that I do not have, somebody once told me I do not have any weaknesses, and my mouth was just because we are all human beings, we have weaknesses. But the point here is, look at the things that you are really probably not so great at, but explain to them in a positive light. That will earn you points than just saying, I am a late comer.
All right. Yes. Okay, thank you for that one. There's someone here, anonymous, saying, how do you manage nervousness? He says, I'm good at what I do, but I get so nervous to the point I'm unable to explain myself.
Now, it is about practice. Sometimes you just need to practice over and over. They say before you attend an interview, you need to prepare. What is the preparation? When you research about the company, you go over the job description that has been presented to you, you have gone over your CV, you also understand what you have done in the past. So what you do is you can probably just practice with somebody can sit in front of you and they pretend to be the person interviewing you, and you answer the questions as they ask. Or if you're on a professional level, you can look for somebody to coach you. Coaching does not mean that somebody will be providing answers straight away for the interviews. They are just trying to help you to maneuver around the questions and also build your confidence. But I would also want to say that interviews are changing these days. People are a bit more accommodating. It is not a life and death experience like it used to be in the past, where when you go in and everybody is stone-faced and what. So some interviewers are kind and they will give you time to collect yourself and to just feel comfortable. So just keep practicing with yourself and with other people, and with time you will figure it out.
All right, so practice.
Yes.
Vincent Dimba is asking, when asked to explain why you have worked in several organizations within a short period of time that do not depict your experience period, how do you handle such a question?
There are very many reasons why you may have worked in several organizations within a short period of time. And one of those reasons is you realize some employers insist on just offering contract terms as far as engagement is concerned. So you will get into a company and they will say, we only offer you a job for 3 months. You cannot go beyond 3 months. So it means you will move to a different company. Or probably you have been moving around because you have probably not found something that suits you. Or about answering that question is try to be as honest about it as possible, because one, for that question to be asked, the potential employer is looking at how long can if I hire you today?
Oh, we just lost Anne temporarily. I hope she'll be back soon. I think her connection is not so good. Anne, can you hear me? Anne. All right, so just keep the questions coming. I can see them on the Q&A session. I'm going to be asking Anne, I think she's going to answer this question again, first of all, about working different places that had been asked. Anne, are you back?
What was the question?
Oh, yeah. So the question was,
I think we have lost Anne.
Yeah. When you're asked about why you've worked at so many organizations for such short time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for such short period of time. When you are asked about why you have worked for several organizations for such short periods of time that do not warrant experience.
Okay, so how do you explain why you have worked in an organization for such a short period of time?
For many organizations for short, yes.
Okay, that one, sometimes you really don't need to tell the, sometimes you can say they were short stints. We are open for gig economy right now. So it also depends on the reason why you have been working in different organizations for a short while. For example, if it was internship, there's nothing you can do about internship, right? So you can just say there were internship opportunities, because I know right now a lot of HRs and organizations are going out into giving people an opportunity to just get experience so that they can beef up in their CV. So if it was internship, you just say it was internship and you've been in taking on internship for a while and not able to like get a job. If it was a contract, you just say they were contract, and it was the end of a contract. And if it's not, what reason could it be? Maybe you got fired, you've been fired through and through. You need to also now gauge yourself and understand why you've been fired so that you can get the likely answers that actually make sense. So that would be my contribution to that.
All right. So I'll just move on to another question by Millicent Atemo. She's asking if you have been invited for a job interview via Zoom and been told to give a 10-minute presentation on how your skill sets will help advance the cause of the organization. How do you go about such?
How will your skill set help you?
You're asked to present for 10 minutes on Zoom about how your skills will help advance the organization. Yeah, she's asking how do you go about such?
Okay, you just summarize what you're very good at. For example, if you're an IT person, you can come up with skills like using Canva. You're also good in design. You can also come up with things like support and probably doing a website. So now what you do, you can prepare a PowerPoint presentation on that. And then highlight the very good skills that you have that are relevant to that job. So that as you now go ahead and explain and do a presentation on that, then you have some meat in your presentation, let me call it that. So yeah, you can prepare a PowerPoint presentation, highlight your skills, the necessary skills for that particular job. And some of these things are actually listed in the job description when they're doing adverts. So when that happens, then you need to now check what skills they are looking for and what you have as an individual, and then prepare a PowerPoint presentation, maybe even a page or two. Sometimes it really doesn't need much if they're asking you to do a presentation. However, if they're just asking you to talk about it, you just highlight the skills that you have as an individual that match the particular job that they have advertised for.
Okay. All right. There's an anonymous person asking, if an employee has been fired on unfair ground, but they don't have the capability to take the matter to court, what reasons should they give to the next employer for leaving their last employer?
Sometimes you can say something like it just didn't work out, or sometimes you just say the reason you left is because you wanted to grow. You know, sometimes you can't go bad mouthing your previous employer in as much as the separation process was not very light. And sometimes we say it's not what you say, it's actually how you say it. So it just depends on how you structure the answer to that question, because you are not supposed to actually badmouth your previous employer, regardless of how the relationship ended. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Maureen Acheng Oneko asking, what's your opinion on noting your marital status, number of children, and age on your CV?
Okay, to be honest, nowadays we really don't, unless it's actually required in the application, because there's some people who want to hire you because the job requires somebody with a family, maybe, or it involves a lot of traveling, so maybe a single person is more preferred. So is it necessary? I don't think so. This is a personal opinion, not a gospel, like the truth, you know, the way we die with. In my opinion, not necessarily. However, it's a personal choice. And sometimes you just leave it. If they ask you, you can always let them know the truth. Yeah, but for me, it really doesn't make a difference.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Roy Kenda saying, thanks a lot for the session. There are some instances where you are given an opportunity to ask questions at the end of an interview. Can you highlight on this?
Yes, it's necessary that you ask questions, but make sure your questions are relevant. So you can get a question like, you ask about the job. For example, you can ask, when do you need somebody to start? Oh yeah, here is Anne. Thank you, Anne, for coming back. So sometimes you can just ask, what was I saying? Sorry, I've lost my thought process after I've seen Anne. Yeah, sorry, apologies for that. So you can ask, I've forgotten what we were discussing actually. Sorry, Yvonne. The question was ask us a question at the end of the interview.
Yes.
So you can actually, yes, please ask questions relevant to the job, and also try and find out about the culture of the company. So you can ask something like, how soon do you need somebody to report, or something like something very unique, not really the cliche things. You know, I've had an experience with somebody who, like 10 people have come for the same interview, and they will ask, when am I required to start? You know, so that's a cliche question. But when somebody is there asking, so what kind of systems do you have in place? It's a thought-provoking even for the interviewees, because this is something that's very different. So you can ask about the systems, you can ask about policies that they have, and especially if you're going for a HR position, you can ask what are the policies you have in place. You can also ask something to do with what is the culture of the organization. So some of these questions are pretty get us off guard as recruiters. So, and it's really important. Don't ask us, when am I reporting? Honestly, I'm tired of that question. And Anne, are you back? This internet, sometimes I'm telling you, even in as much as we are trying to work from home, sometimes this is becoming a challenge. So we can go on, Yvonne. What is the next question?
All right. Christine Akinyi, she's asking, what advice would you give to someone with almost 20 years work experience? Does the same approach apply?
Somebody who has 20 years experience?
20 years, yeah.
Approach to what now? To interviews?
Yes.
Yes.
The questions are the same, yes. Yeah, and in fact, when you have 20 years experience, you actually now talk about your skills better, because you have built a wealth of experience. You need to take advantage of that, and you need to make sure that the people who are interviewing you can see this experience in how you're answering questions. With 20 years experience, the answers you give are very different from the answers we get from somebody who has not worked at all or has like 2 years. So your skill set must come out very strongly when you're answering questions with 20 years experience, even as 5, to be honest, because you have built something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, Grace, if I could just add in on the questions to ask at the end of the interview.
Right.
Also, there are people who try to go overboard, because sometimes somebody will ask at the end of the interview, what is your 5-year strategic plan? And the panel will be like, what? Because one, we are probably coming from a competitor. So if I'm sharing with you my 5-year strategic plan, I mean, it really doesn't work out. So whatever you are asking, try to also leave it at a comfortable level. Try to understand more about the job, because if you are hired, you probably might want to know, when I am coming in, what are the expectations that you might have for me, say for the first 30 days or something like that. But then don't get too deep into certain questions that might make the panel feel uncomfortable, because they might drop you at that point because they feel that you are trying too hard just at the beginning. Yes.
All right, and welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll go to another.
Sorry about it.
It is, yeah, it's all well. Eric Mudomi saying, how do you respond to behavioral and situational questions? Because they are common in most interviews.
So situational or behavioral questions, sometimes interviewers would want to have a real life scenario where an incident happened and how you solved the situation. And the reason for asking a question like that is they want to understand, are you somebody who is able?
Okay.
Yes, I can hear her.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
So yeah, what I was explaining is, when you are asked a behavioral or a situational question, they want to understand your ability to answer, to solve problems, or to think on your feet, or just to be able to go above and beyond the job expectation. So you might be asked a question like, for instance, give us an example where you had a conflict with your colleague and how you resolved it, or what. So as a job seeker, regardless of how the conflict was, you don't, again, I'm going to emphasize on, don't talk too negatively about the other party, because at the end of the day, that other party is not here to defend themselves. What you need to do is explain briefly what the situation was, how you responded to it, whether you reported it to your supervisor, or did you try to approach this person privately to discuss the matter with them and resolve it, or what did you do? So also try to be as, do I say creative or honest? I don't know which word to use to replace that in that scenario. But the main reason for asking a question like that is to understand your ability to think on your feet. Yvonne?
All right. You talked about this a bit earlier, but I think Belly Amayo had not joined us yet. So she's asking, how does one handle the situation where the job description is requesting for 5+ years of experience, and they don't have that, but meet a majority of the other requirements? Do you go ahead and apply for the job, or count your losses and hope for that the next employer will be more accommodating?
Now, the thing is that if you wait for a job that you qualify 100% on the things that they are requesting for, I think you will be waiting until the end of time, because there might not be one that comes your way with all the things that you fit in. So when you are reading any job description, try to look at, do you meet at between 70 to 80% of the things that they are looking for? And at the same time, when it comes to years of experience, if they're asking for 10 years experience in a job and you only have 2 years experience, I would want to say, drop that one, because you are not close. But then again, if they're asking for 5 years experience and probably you have only done 3, but then when you read the rest of the job description, you can see these are things you have done before, and you know that if you are given an opportunity, you can do them and do them even better. Then I recommend that you proceed and apply for that job. But the most important thing to know is look at whether you have 70 to 80% of what they are looking for, then apply for that job. If you wait for 100%, it is not coming. That job is not coming. Believe in yourself also.
All right. So for as long as you have 70 to 80% of what they're looking for, go ahead and apply for that.
Yeah.
All right. So Monica is asking just about what you've just gone through right now with the internet. She's asking if you are in the middle of a Zoom interview, how do you handle this challenge if you go offline? Do you call to reschedule, or how do you recover from this?
It depends on how severe the situation is. Fortunately, I've been able to resolve mine in, I think, about 6 to 7 minutes. But there are instances where you might not resolve it completely. I also believe that employers or interviewers right now, when they are doing it via Zoom, they know that there could be an instance where there are technical issues that come up. So that is allowed unless they are really, really stiff people. But it could happen. When it happens and you are not able to come back on, I think the best thing is to just write back to them and inform them of what happened. Or if you want to visit them in person and explain yourself, that is fine. But again, I don't think that is enough reason to disqualify you as not a potential candidate just because your internet went off. But try to have consistent internet, because these interview opportunities are not coming too many times of late. And when one comes, it's really a blessing and you really need to give it your 100%. So try to work on your internet and get it stable.
Right. All right. Thank you so much for that. The next question is by Kamunya Charity, and it's a question that many women ask. Can pregnancy be a factor to eliminate one from getting a job?
I would want to say a big no. It shouldn't be eliminated because of pregnancy. One, the law does not require you to disclose your pregnancy to a potential employer at the point of interview, unless the job requires a special category of people. Why am I saying that? From the Constitution to the Employment Act 2007, we are talking about discrimination. And it is unlawful to be discriminated upon based on your pregnancy status or all those other things that have been listed by law. So your pregnancy should not disqualify you, but again, it could disqualify you depending on the nature of the job, because number one, assuming that it is a more, I don't know if I would say technical or what. Let's say, for instance, let me give you a practical example. For instance, you are looking for a job as a security guard, a lady guard, a gadette, how we call it. And before you get into an assignment, you require a certain level of physical training. For a pregnant woman, that would not be very practical. So it would look like discrimination, but at the same time, because of your own safety and the safety of your child, it is very important for the employer to just say, let's wait until you deliver, and then we can look at this again. But taking you through this entire process at this time puts your life in danger and that of the child. Or there are certain industries or factories where you inhale fumes and all that, and it would not be ideal for a pregnant person. So yes, you shouldn't be disqualified because of your pregnancy. You should not, it is not even a requirement for you to disclose your pregnancy status. But again, certain jobs would require you to give that kind of information for your own safety. And companies that deal in that kind of environment are very serious about it, because they do not want to have industrial cases because of deaths and all that. Yes.
All right. Thank you for that one. Most of the questions coming in right now are questions whose answers have already been touched on. So in case you missed out, you can find this recording on YouTube at Atara Solutions. I'm going to ask one more question here by an anonymous person. Saying, is it professionally right to give a comment or ask a question without being given a chance to do so in a recruitment process? I think we've already touched on this one. Let me just look for one more, Anne, and then you will decide which one to start with. Yes, sir. Is it in order to ask if the organization have a performance management system in place? Also benefits they offer their employees. So performance management systems.
Yes, it is in order to ask whether they have a performance management system, because the reason for having a performance management system, one, it is used to gauge on whether you are performing or rather improving or producing as had been agreed upon. So without a performance management system, it is hard to gauge whether you are meeting the targets or the expectations that have been laid down. So yes, you can ask whether that system is there. And also a performance management system is also used in instances where salaries are increment of salaries and all that, because how do you say I am performing well if you don't have a performance management system? You understand? So if you are not gauging my performance on a periodic basis, then even the chances of me getting a salary increment would be based on whether you woke up in a good mood or a bad mood or all those other factors that have nothing to do with performance. So yes, go ahead and ask about that. The second thing they were asking about is if even the other half of the question.
Yeah, let me quickly get the other half of the question. Although it's something I think we had talked about earlier. Asking questions. Is it professionally right to ask questions when you have not been given the chance to ask yet?
Yes, it is professionally right to ask a question. However, how do you ask that question? So you just need to be polite about it. Sometimes employers might forget to ask that most important question. Do you have any questions for us? So assuming that is forgotten, and after attending the entire process of the interview, you feel that something needs to be clarified, you'll just excuse yourself and ask, please allow me to ask this. Do you provide this and that, or whatever it is that you are looking to seek clarification on? So nothing should stop you on that.
All right. Okay. Grace, I don't know if you can hear me. Should we take one more question?
All right.
Grace? Okay, Sarah, and you and me together.
Okay, as we wait for Grace to come back, yes, please.
Wait for Grace, and then you can give us your last take. So someone here called Kennedy, he's saying, I was once shortlisted and given a date for an interview, only to be emailed 4 days later that the interview had been postponed and not cancelled. Is it okay to call and ask if it has been rescheduled?
Yes, sometimes interviews can be scheduled, and then for reasons best known to the company that are unavoidable, they might choose to postpone an interview. So the fact that in advance that, please note, we called you for an interview on this date, but because of 1, 2, 3, we are unable to meet that. So that is, it is good to call and ask if they can reschedule. That is in order. Or even if they cancel, sometimes interviews get canceled because probably I shortlisted for Monday next week. Unfortunately, something happens or somebody dies within the company and we are not able to continue with the interview. We'll have to, sometimes we'll postpone or cancel. So there are various reasons. Just find out from them what is going on. If they are decent people, they will give you honest answers. Yeah.
All right, Grace, I see you back. Hi, Grace. There's a question for you. Yeah, there's a question for you here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Paul Lamwangi is asking if they can share their CVs with you in case they're looking for a job.
That's fine. That's fine. They can always do that. Yes, that's okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
Yeah, and we have Maura who has raised her hand. I don't know whether it was by mistake or she wanted to say something. Anyway, okay, it's fine. It's okay. There's somebody who's asking, how do you follow up? How do you do a follow-up, Anne?
Now, how you do a follow-up for an interview, you can either call or you can write an email. Because sometimes potential employers will tell you that we'll get back to you. And then 1 week later, you have waited 2 weeks, it gets, once you are done with an interview, the results, the process of waiting for whether it's a yes or a no, it makes you anxious. And the earlier you know the position, the better. So just write an email or call them. And one thing I also want to say here is when you call, do not stalk a potential employer in the sense that you called in the morning, you called at lunchtime, you called in one day, you have called them 15 times and you do that for 3 days straight. They will think you're crazy. So just call them, write them an email also, and they will respond. If they don't respond, you will also know that they are not serious. And if they respond to you 2 months after the interview when they told you they will get back to you in 4 days, I think you also need to question whether you really want to join that company or you just want to move on to other things. But do make a follow-up if you don't get the response within the time period that you expected it. Yes, Grace?
Okay. No, I'm just seeing somebody's asking, most adverts say no canvassing. What does this mean?
Canvassing is how what you do when you are using an internal person to get you that job or to get you an opportunity in there, because they say we are an equal opportunity employer. So it means that everybody should be given the same treatment, or it should be an equal fighting chance. So if we are all sending our CVs through the HR email, it needs to go through there. But if yours is now coming to through the finance manager or the MD or the whatever, and you are pushing them to help you push for the opportunity, you are canvassing. So for serious companies, they will tell you that if that is discovered, it leads to automatic disqualification because it is no longer an equal opportunity environment for the candidates that are applying for the job. So Grace has disappeared for a minute there. And while we wait for her to come back.
Oh, she's back. She's back.
All right. Grace?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's somebody, I don't know whether you've covered this question on paying 1,500 for interviews.
There's somebody who's asked about, okay.
Yeah, I've been shortlisted by a company in industrial area and they wanted me to pay 1,500 for interviews. Is this right?
On all levels, no, it is not right. It is unethical. I will not say it is illegal, but it is unethical. And I keep telling this to job seekers. Anytime you need to pay money in order to get a job, you need to be very suspicious with that kind of company. Because one, an employment relationship is not a favor. It is a give and take arrangement where I do my job, I deliver, I get, and then the company pays me, right? So I do not need to buy that. And every time you are asked for money in order to be shortlisted or to be interviewed or to be placed, I don't know where, please note that is a con. And those guys are looking for quick money because otherwise there is no reason, absolutely no reason for you to pay money to get a job unless you have decided to deal with the consequences of paying for that. And should you discover that you're being conned, please do not write a long email or a long Facebook post complaining about how they did you wrong and that and that, you should not pay for a job. You should not pay to be hired. They should see what you bring to the table. And also as a HR person, when you are receiving money in order to hire people, one thing is you have compromised yourself, your integrity is in question, and now it is just a whole load of other things. Yeah.
All right, all right. Before we answer the last question, Julia, you can hear me? Can you hear me?
All right.
Anne, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you, Grace.
Okay. There's somebody who's saying, Julian Dicho is asking, how do you explain a gap in employment? Julian Dicho, I'm going to send you back to our YouTube channel. We did this 3 weeks ago with Jane Mutisia. She actually covered it extensively. Please look for explaining employment gaps on our YouTube channel, which is Get It Right with Atara Solutions. And she did this and covered it very, very intensively. So somebody else is asking, can you apply for different positions in the same organization at the same time? And allow us to take this as the last question. Oh yeah, the second last. I've seen another important one.
Yeah, you could apply for different positions in the same organization, but then the question that I would be asking myself would be, is this person, do they really know what they want? Because now what you are doing when you're applying for, you say you applied for the position of HR officer, the same company also was looking for a HR manager. You also applied work to choose for you what I think suits you, which to me should be the other way around, you choosing what you are confident you can deliver in. So you can apply, but the chances of you getting that opportunity would be low, in my opinion, because you do not know what you want. And second guessing is not one of the strongest points that HR people have. I will tell you that for sure. So you either are sure of what you're looking for or you are not. So I would prefer you weigh both job descriptions and pick what you are strong at and apply for that, instead of going, being a jack of all trades and an expert of none. Grace? Grace?
Okay, I hear you.
All right.
And so the last question, because I can see we are not able to exhaust all of them today, is there a specified time for probations, or it depends with the companies, and how long should it be extended?
The standard probation period is 3 months. The company can extend it for another 3 months, or a maximum of 3 months. So after that, either they would, the reason for let me explain. The reason for extending probation is because probably your performance at that point within the 3 months is not as expected, but the company sees potential in you. So what they are basically saying is, let's extend this period for some time and see how that goes. So after the 6 months, they should now make a decision on whether you are being confirmed or not. And if that is not done, if the confirmation does not take place, then it is assumed that you have been confirmed. It is implied that now you have been confirmed as a full member of staff. So also to the HR people, once the probation is done, please communicate so everybody is clear on the terms of engagement.
Excellent, excellent, Anne. So the final question, how do you deal with the situation where your current salary is too low? And we have deviated from, oh yeah, he's asking, can you fake a payslip? And can you hear me?
Of course you can fake a payslip. Yes, I can hear you. I'm saying you can fake a payslip.
But is it ethical?
It is not ethical. Generally, lying is unethical. And some of the clauses that are there in contracts is that should the company discover that the information that you provided is false, then you would be summarily dismissed for misconduct, right? So if you read in serious companies, if you read your contract, you will find a clause like that or something closer to that. I would prefer that you do not forge a payslip, but go and negotiate your salary based on your abilities, your skills, and what you feel or you know you will bring on board if you are to be hired for this position. Because any relationship, whether it is work relationship or whatever, if you start it with a lie, then it gets to a point where the lie becomes too heavy for you to bear. Because in future, if probably a background check is done or something finds you, sometimes karma is just very angry. And it might catch up with you at a time you did not expect, and it will lead you into so much trouble that you should have avoided, or you could have avoided from the word go by just being honest. Because also I believe that any serious employer, once they see what you can bring on board and you show them, then they would not have a problem with paying you what is truly yours. And if they have a problem with doing that, then you have to be bold enough to ask for it, or to call yourself to that meeting and decide whether you still want to stay there or it is time to move on.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Anne. It is 9:10, my people. I know we cannot not exhaust all the questions today. Please allow us to be giving you these things in small doses because we don't have that much time. However, I am really excited to see the numbers that logged in today, and I'm hoping that you have learned something and that your next interview will be flawless. So, and I really apologize for I keep getting lost. I am in Mombasa for the 7th HR Congress, and I hope the HRs who are around, please, if you see me, say hi. It is good to network. However, to our audience, I hope that you have learned a lot. And I want to appreciate my mentee, Yvonne, who has done a great job for considering this is her first time. I think you've done an excellent job. And I am handing you over to call this meeting to an end. This was your meeting. So.
All right. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Anne. This was very informative. You can see from the comments coming in, you have been very helpful to many people. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Balkan Housing and Stallion Construction Limited, for enabling this to happen. Thank you, Kapula Mincito as well, and Graphics Broadcast Media. Thank you very much also for our audience for tuning in tonight. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Grace Mzulaka Makorida, thank you for hosting us and for allowing this to happen. Please like our Facebook page, Atara Solutions, and Instagram as well, Atara Solutions. If you'd like to see or watch this interview later, or others that we've also had before, Atara Solutions on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel as well. See you next week, same time, same place. We are here with the journey of the entrepreneurs, as it's the entrepreneur Kenyan way. Thank you so much for joining us. From all of us, it's a good night and God bless.